called Sisters Fox, and that there's an epigraph, which is two mediums disgraced, known for the rapping sounds they compelled the dead to produce. And it's set up kind of as an interview, so there's like a speaker who's like asking questions, and then the sisters kind of as one voice responding, so just so you know. Tell me, where could one hear the sounds? Inside a living tree, on a sheet of paper dangling by a thread, in a theater, along the surface of a glass harmonica. And you made them? We were tested in every way they could devise. Day, hands holding hours still, electric lights biting through shadow and snow. These tests, you passed them? All. They felt the spirits tap their shoulders. They heard smoke whispering in the walls. How we sat and laughed and were afraid. How they watched us on the stage, their eyes gemmed over like ice on clear water. My breath hot with bitters, creme de menthe, I sucked silently on air. You were afraid? I was. I thought that we had called something. The whispers, the dreams of lamb-colored smoke. You're saying there were ghosts then? Spirits? Not that. Us. I was alone. Everyone who came was all alone, and then we weren't. In the darkness, our bodies glowed and cracked like wood on fire. Your tendons then? Yes, the metatarsals? We called them ghosts in the bones. All those people, you fooled them all? Yes. They heard each sound differently. An iron wire, 2 brass coins, a needle popping through serge. Did we lie? We gave them. We gave them what they burned to hear. Okay, so you mentioned dragons and other various things in your email that you sent out. So that made me feel that I felt compelled to read this poem, which is a cento, which is a poem where all of the lines are taken from another literary work. And in this cento, all of the lines are taken from Game of Thrones.
Awesome.
So, yes, the first book, A Game of Thrones by George R.R. Martin. So this cento is called Apologia. It sounded better to call it a dream. She remembered the way she had been before, no more and no less. A fig, hold fast, a paper shield, bone thin, bone hard. The words were on her lips, she almost said them. Field of wheat, field of fire, fool's fire. It sounded better to call it a dream. A small blob of blue wax, hot yellow wax, globs of molten gold as sharp as the difference between right and wrong. Kernels slid from between his fingers, spilling out of both hands. Between each finger was a blade. Back and forth it switched, all the shades of truth. There was no privacy in the heart. Okay, so this next poem is another sort of historical myth, and it comes from the story of a woman, a French woman who was involved in a shipwreck, and she was sort of shipwrecked on an island, and everyone who shipwrecked with her died, except her. And she lived there for a while, and eventually she was rescued. And she wrote a lot about her brief time on the island by herself, and it was very scary and very weird. So this is after that experience. It's called On the Island, after Marguerite de la Roque. The waves go black at night, seem to lie still, still belied by the rasp of sand. The waves are continental in their taking and move by sucking moonlight in their undertow. Some foxes falter by the spruce. Faintly, she hears earth meet their feet coldly and back away with a hiss. She stokes the green popping wood fire, eyes her shadow's length preening between the firs. As though she blinked it out, the faint moon goes dark. Clouds, she thinks, but now she finds herself choking on the dark, the girl's body, the little bird-like skeleton of the otter ash-buried. When the lassitude of being alone had sloughed off like skin, like the little fox teeth she found in the girl's arm, she'd felt her hands turn into stone, into gold. She'd hugged the dirt and leaves to her chest, then spread them over the body, knowing the animals like a virus would invade it, knowing she would hear the leaves move. Okay, finish up, I'm going to read a couple, maybe just like 2 poems from my verse novel. I just finished a verse novel. It's about it's kind of weird. It's about a girl who grows up in a town, it's a real-life town in Florida called Gibsonton. It was established in 1949 as a retirement home and a winter home for carnival freaks. It's a very strange story about this town, sort of an interesting story of things being made accessible to little people and people who were extremely tall, and they had special zoning laws so that they could keep their circus animals with them at all times, and tigers could live in their front yard. So it's about a girl who grows up there and is kind of in this isolated environment and then goes out into the world. So I think I'm going to read 2 poems from this. Yeah, I'll read the first 2. And these are the first 2 I have, not the first 2 of the whole thing. And so just, I guess the only thing you need to know is that the main character of it is a little girl, and her name is Emanuela. And the first novel is called Dark Ride. This is seeing, Mother says. They sit at the picnic table. Her hand rests on Emanuela's neck. The concrete surface ripples and writhes. The ants crawl between stone curves. Emanuela thinks, these are their arches, the entrance and exit. Mother's hand presses down like a stone. Emanuela's eyes widen, start to tear. The ants turn at angles and touch their concrete floor softly. Mother lifts her hand and Emanuela looks up. There will be a great deal of looking, says Mother, but we know better than that. Always the same dream. At the zoo, Emanuela thinks clouds. The hippopotamus winking to the surface, almost flat, almost round. The float of the bonobo. And the elephant, nothing like a cloud. Emanuela touches the thickness of its gray with her eyes, the rubble of its skin. It lifts its trunk, tosses an arc of hay. Emanuela watches it lift and fall, thinks clouds. Thank you.